Hi, welcome to D10tion, where we pretend to know what we're talking about when it comes to D&D. I am your host. No one can spell my name right, Tristan. To my left, we have Where My Witch Is At, Sam. And to my right, we have You Want to See My Magic Wand, Brandon.
Well, hold on now. It's nice. It's made of maple.
Yes.
So,
some good old wood. We're going to talk about another spellcaster today. We're going to talk about the one that usually people think of the most common when it comes to spells and magic in general. We're going to be talking about wizards.
You are a wizard, is the cleanest way to put that. Like he said, most people think of wizards as the classic staple of spellcasters, the one with a bunch of books. They're the one that's really smart. They're the ones that normally have a beard that's like 5 times as long as his.
Right. I mean, and the biggest thing that sets the wizards apart from everything else spell-based is that inherently they're not magical to begin with. Everything that they learn as far as spell-wise is, learned through like books and research.
And scrolls and lessons and school.
Right, which is why their intelligence is usually their main focus.
Why they're nerds.
Or nerds, I guess you can go like that. But, so... Wizards are supposed to be like the intelligent, spell-based character, and that's kind of where we start off when it comes to making a wizard. So as always, we're going to be making a level 5 character to kind of get the ball rolling, and as we talk about a bunch of things. Now, we mentioned that this school, this is where we kind of run into like the branching of kind of focusing your wizard. Now, wizards have a lot of them. We've run into that in the case with a couple of other classes. So we'll kind of, kind of quickly go through a bunch of them, kind of give a gist of an idea of what those schools are in a little bit.
And we'll focus on the major one that we're probably going to pick.
Right. And again, this is a lot to give you just a basic idea of how wizards work and what you can do with a wizard. And
it's a lot.
Yes.
Just so you know, it's a lot. So wizards are multi-tools of magic.
Yes, they are. So we'll go ahead and start off with our wizard, and Sam, who is our character bearer and keeper of all the souls of the multiverse in this case.
It's only a part-time job.
That's horrifying to think about.
So Sam, tell us about our wizard to start us off.
All right, so our wizard's name is Len. No relation to any other sort of wizards that might have been in a one-shot at one point. He is a forest gnome because forest gnome gives a +2 to intelligence.
Intelligence is smart.
Yeah.
So for the wizards, starting out, you get 1d6 hit dice per wizard level, which is not horrible, but not so great.
It's bad.
And then at first level, you get 6 plus your Constitution modifier. So it's kind of important to have a high Constitution as a wizard because, you have like nothing.
You get sneezed at and you're like, oh goodness.
And then hit points at higher levels, it's 1d6 plus your Con modifier for every level after first. Proficiencies, you have no armor proficiencies. Like I said, when it comes to armor, you're just sort of SOL.
So
that's why you really want to put your third highest stat into con. You do get weapon proficiencies. You get daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, light crossbows. Not like you'll really use any of them, but hey, they're there for you in case you need them. You have no tool proficiencies. Your saving throws are intelligence and wisdom. And you can pick 2 skills from Arcana, History, Insight, Investigation, Medicine, and Religion.
Woo!
So depending on what kind of wizard you want to play, I'm feeling like Len's more of a Arcana, History type of guy. Probably somebody who's going to be like...
Nerd.
Yeah, he's very much like, oh yeah, I read that in a book somewhere, and just sort of knows things.
He's going to be like one of those hyper-intelligent people that just drops random facts.
Did you know honey is still edible after 3,000 years? And we are fighting a golem. Now you know.
Yes, but he has the color of honey.
And it just reminded me. Random fact number 294.
He needs to number every fact that he ever says.
That's what I do, honestly. So.
But he's going to be able to keep track of what number he's on.
You do get your spellcasting abilities at first level. Once again, like you said, wizards learn this stuff, so they kind of like pick up more as they go.
You're nothing until this.
And that'll lead into more complicated things down the road we'll talk about, but for right now, it's pretty simple.
Yep.
So then at level 2...
You get your arcane tradition.
So that's your school.
Mm-hmm.
That's your it's your specialization. You get it a level earlier than most. So, oh boy.
This is where there are lots in...
There are a lot of them, guys.
Right.
So I think that it might be easiest to do this, to do a general breakdown, just a definition of these words. I think is going to be better than trying to go through everything.
Like I said earlier, we're going to try and keep a lot of these short, simple, except for probably the one that we'll dive the most into early, as we decide which one that we like the most. So let's go ahead and start with the top of the list, which is the... what school is that, Brandon?
Well, the top of the list is technically blade singing. But that's elves only. If you're not an elf, can't do it.
Yeah.
All right, well then, let's quickly go through that one then. So if you have picked an elf...
You pretty much are a variant of a magical fighter. Yeah. Your whole thing is you're like a fighter, bard, wizard, because it's blade singing, so everything's about like the song of magic of war, and you're fighting, and you use like the different songs of your blade to cast wizard abilities, but you're fighting. It's the weirdest one.
It's kind of like a cop-out on the wizard, though, because you're like using your sword to do just...
You actually get a sword.
Things, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not... You get benefits, and you're literally like a fighting wizard. So if you want to be a fighting wizard, you got to be an elf. It says elf, so you have to be elf only. Now DM can change that, but elf only if you're playing by rules.
Right.
So we'll go to the first actual school.
All right. So this is something that I've mentioned before. Magic users are usually lost on me because I is not smart. That's why I'm a barbarian.
I will bring down my glasses.
No.
Begin to talk about.
We're gonna put them right back up.
The school of abjuration.
Yeah. In case you guys couldn't tell, he's the barbarian, I'm the rogue, and he's the wizard.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a something.
Is my bread and butter. So abjuration is literally about using magic to block, defend, shift the matters of reality and bend them to your will for protection. Pretty much, it's the easiest way to be like, I block that, I'm protected from that, I banish you, I protect you. Like you're literally that type of wizard is someone who uses magic to pretty much body block. Just be like, body block.
You're the biggest the defender. You're the defense on a large scale of just casting spells to just defend people who may not be able to do as much. This is where I imagine like a wizard and maybe some sorcerers or something else where they're kind of like the glass cannons. This kind of wizard would be like, all right, I'm going to make us so that we're not so hit, but everyone just start throwing your big bombs.
Pretty much. They have the ability to, certain abjuration spells, give them hit points. Like, if you use, at second level, right when you start, you get Arcane Ward. We're not going to go into it too much, but it pretty much means cast an abjuration spell, get hit points. Mm-hmm. So you're literally, like, keeping yourself up by casting abjuration protection spells. The most common abjuration spell is shield. It one that if you're an abjuration wizard, I recommend you take as soon as you can, because it's one that gives you +5 to your AC, and you don't wear armor, so your AC is really low. So it gives you +5. Also, in your School of Abjuration, you get health. So even if they do hit, right when you cast it, you're healing yourself so you can soak some of that damage. So abjuration is all about, when you pick abjuration, think about protection and sustaining and longevity.
All right.
That's your goal.
So the next one will be the School of Conjuration, which is, if you can guess from the word, you're to produce objects and creatures out of thin air. You're conjuring things.
I will be honest, I never picked this one. I never have found, personally, I've never found Conjuration to be fun.
See, because when I sit here and I think of Conjuration, all I think about is like it's like a live action version of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Pretty much.
Because I mean, you can produce like things like...
You can think you can like conjure elementals.
Right, because you can do like building clouds of killing fog or summon creatures from elsewhere to fight on your behalf.
Literally, this is making like matter into reality.
Yeah.
Right, you can learn spells of teleportation or teleport yourself across vast distances. It really feels, in my mind at least, it's like the Yu-Gi-Oh situation where you're like, I cast this and something else comes up and fights for you, or I cast this and it's specific stuff to like you're bringing things into existence to fight on. Like you're like, go get a big guy and just hide in the background.
Just made a character.
You made Yugi, didn't you?
No. It's perfect. I know exactly how I'm going to make this character now. Thank you, Tristan.
You're welcome. So Conjuration, again, is exactly what it sounds like, conjuring. You're bringing things to the forefront to help you out versus you doing something yourself, more
And
or
then
less.
you're literally at the higher levels, you're just making your conjuration stronger and more fortified. Pretty plain and simple.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, we should note that picking a school doesn't mean you can only pick those spells. You can pick any spell. Just the ones of your school get benefits.
Yes.
That's what's important. If you're planning on being a big damage user, you probably should not pick like the next one we're going to talk about, which is divination.
Right. I mean, because picking a school is kind of like picking a major and then having the other spells be your minors.
Yeah, minor / your gen eds.
Yeah.
You got to be generally educated to do this stuff.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah,
So
divination.
This
You
was
like divination.
This is my second favorite. My first favorite is everyone's first favorite when they're casting a wizard that wants to deal damage. But divination is really fun, and you know about divination. You looked into it a little bit, I remember. So divination is all about using your mind's eye to see what cannot normally be seen, to see past and through things, to see what Tristan's doing at home when I'm sitting here, things like that. It literally gives you sight beyond sight.
Yeah.
Whether it's physical sight beyond sight or a metaphysical through like the arcane planes sight beyond sight.
Think like fortune teller.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Or Lionel.
I mean, yeah, we're lying.
Give me sight on sight.
So the whole part of a school, we didn't really touch base on it, but we're going to talk about divination a little more, is you become a savant. You get a certain, akin to these types of spells, and it makes it the gold and time you have to spend to copy spells, which we're going to get into that, halved. So you don't have to spend nearly as much. For each one of these schools, if you're trying to learn a different spell of that school from a book or scroll, it costs you half as much in time and gold, which is good. So right when you start with divination, you get one of the most powerful tools to a new player.
Well, just real quick. So, I clearly we've just picked divination as our character.
Oh yeah, no, I picked
like seeing how we're going into it. This is Brandon making the executive decision for Len. It's I like divination enough to make it him.
Yeah.
And I think Sam, who's also looked into divination, also seems to like it well enough. And of course, I'm just lost as a magic.
Yes, we are making Lynn the school of divination.
We're making divination now.
So,
Continue.
So important. Important means at the start of your day, your magical awareness is so heightened that you get a roll 2 of these, 2 D20s, and you get to write down those numbers. And you can replace any attack roll, saving throw, ability check. You can roll anything. That the DM is not like, roll me D20 for this. If you can be anything structured in the game, you can use it on yourself or any creature you can see. It has to be one you can see. So you can't be like, oh, I'm just going to give you a 20, even though I can't see. You have to be able to look at them. You do so before the roll, and you can replace a roll once per turn. Meaning, you can only... So let's say you roll, and you roll a 2, I can go, I replace it with a 12. Because we don't know the outcome. So we can replace a roll. So I replace your 2 with a 12. It's better. The best idea would be to, if you have a 1 and the big bad boss goes, I rolled a critical, you go, you roll a 1. You get out of here with that. So,
it's still a critical. What?
you lose the rolls, though, at every long rest. So if you don't use them after a long rest, they disappear, but you get 2 more. So they don't roll over. There's no rollover minutes for these. No rollover divination.
No rollover for your rolls.
So at 6th level, you become an expert in divination. Casting the spells is so easy for you that if you cast a spell of 2nd level or higher using a spell slot, you regain 1 expended spell slot from 5th or lower. So let's say you want some 3rd level spells. When you have some 2nd level open, you cast a 2nd level divination spell, you can get a 3rd back. It literally is a way to constantly chug through things at a lower level, which is great. You're still going to have the same general amount of spells, but if you're just going to cast divination, you can have an endless amount of divination technically. At 10th level, you get the 3rd eye.
I've got this eye in my head.
So you pretty much increase your power of perception, which is great, especially for if you want to be like a super sleuth.
Yeah.
It lasts until you're incapacitated, or you take a short or long rest. You can't do it again until you finish a long rest. It's not permanently there. Right. But you either get dark vision, which is dark vision, ethereal sight, which means you can see the ethereal plane 60 feet in front of you, which is it has its uses, but I have never found one.
I look into the ethereal. Why?
I just see it. There's things that exist in the ethereal plane you need to get to.
I mean, that almost, like with that one definitely feels like a story element
Yeah.
where you're just like my character just likes looking into the ethereal plane.
Greater comprehension. You can read any language. You can't speak it or understand it, but you can read it,
That's
which is still good.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
It means you can translate any book. And then the final one is see invisibility. If anything's invisible within 10 feet of you, it becomes visible to you, which is great. So someone's like, peace. You're like, no, you don't.
I still see you.
And then at level 14, you get 3 D20s for your portent.
There you go.
So it increases to an ability where you can have pretty much yourself covered for one, a bad guy covered, and a friend covered.
Right.
All for one. So that's divination. So that was pretty much the long short of it. In divination, you can be an attack wizard, but most of your spells should be...
Much of it, you're almost more of these story elements more than anything else.
You're there for out of combat to be like, God, don't worry, guys, I'll find it.
Yeah. So the next one is the School of Enchantment, which is, as a member of the School of Enchantment, you have honed your abilities to magically entrance and beguile other people and monsters. You bewitch the violent to lay down their weapons and charm the cruel into showing mercy. You're enchanting people.
Yeah.
Some of these are just straight up what they are. You're essentially a big charmer.
And this is one of my favorite.
Yeah.
This is what Chet is.
This is the rogue in you.
Wait,
I think.
this is what Chet is?
Mm-hmm.
See, this is
what?
So you're a smooth talker. This is where I think your roguishness comes through. Where
It's that
you're
like,
talk
charisma, like charming people and friends and suggestion, like all these really nice spells. Like,
right.
I'm flabbergasted, honestly.
It's like, oh, you're smart and funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely where I can see a wizard with the School of Enchantment being the face of the party more and more.
Yeah.
Just because even if like their own charisma's not good enough, they're like, oh, and here's a spell to make you really think I'm crazy.
This is kind of like Bard 2.0. Like,
yes, that's a good way to put it.
Bard without the sword.
Right?
Yes, that's a great way to put it, or at least
your sword is your book.
Yes.
I mean, and I know we haven't talked about the other one, but I mean, enchantment is great because you have alter memory at 14th level, which means you can pretty much be
wonderful.
like, you weren't charmed.
Right.
And they're like, okay.
Right. So yes, enchantment is definitely all about manipulating the enemy's mind more than anything.
Or your friends.
Or your friends.
Yeah.
I want to go to the bar. I don't want to. We're going to the bar. Okay. You're doing Jedi mind tricks. If you want to put into a different, you're doing Jedi mind tricks on people.
This is not the party you're looking for.
Literally things like that.
Yeah.
This next school is my favorite.
I was going to say
It's a lot of people's favorite because of what it is. You can introduce it though, and then whenever you want to call on me, I'll pipe up. I don't want to take over the conversation. On this
well, you like evocation. So, School of Evocation, you focus your study of magic that creates powerful elemental effects such as bitter cold, searing flame, rolling thunder, crackling lightning, and burning acid. You are, you're the Avatar.
Pretty much.
Some evokers find employment in military forces serving as artillery. This is like the tanker. This is like, as we usually phrase, the glass cannon.
You are the artillery.
Yes.
You are the people that walk into a town and go, fireballs up! And take out everyone. That's your job, which is great. I love it. It's so fun. Because as a wizard, you're here for a good time, not a long time.
Depending on the wizard.
With how much health you have as an evocation and depending on your constitution, you're here for a good time, not a long time. So why not just be like, hey, everyone, don't worry about it. I'm just going to... Okay, we're moving on. Let's go. Yeah. And it's just... Evocation is literally about pretty much demanding that the enemy look at you because you're about to kill them.
Yes.
You deal your damage. That's it. Damage. You have many different flavors of damage. But damage. And you also have the ability to, and this is why it's important at second level, you can make sure you go, don't worry, my spell won't hit you, and you can sculpt spells around them, which is when some people are like, well, I don't want to blow up my friends. Don't worry, they thought about that, so you don't have to do that. So
yeah, that's essentially the tank version, like not even like a tank character, but like an actual tank.
Moving on.
The next one is my other favorite, the School of Illusion.
You're the yin to my yang on these things.
Yeah. I mean, which is also sort of like Bard 2.0. And basically it's all about, like, once again, like mental attacks, like conjuring illusions or making people see things that aren't there, or, trapping their minds inside of a forceful prison, like, and just torturing them for the rest of their lives.
Great.
Yeah.
So nice. So Bard-like.
Yeah. And maybe a little bit of rogue.
There it is. There's the rogue.
So you literally are powering up the ability to fake people out.
Yes.
Look at that dragon! Ah! And like you're just like, and I take this, and I take that, and I take that, and we leave. Like you literally are making things so real. You're making what's obviously not real to you very real to everyone else, which is great if you want to, let's say, clear a town, or you want to take the guards away from an area, or you want to distract some enemies and sneak around. You can have this school literally make an illusion so real that they're like, I don't want to fight that. I'm going to run now. Right. And you're like, encounter over.
I mean, because there's something to be said, because there's other spells that other classes get that kind of produce small little things, like whether they're, tremors or small illusions that aren't as believable in the right circumstance. So you may want to, if you're focusing a lot on that, you may need to do something that's a little bit more believable.
And, I mean, at higher levels, the illusion, you can actually make things tangible and real for a minute. If it's just like a lower level spell, you can literally make an object real, which can really sell. If you're trying to, be the wizard bard, you can really sell something.
Here's the jewel that we found that we were totally supposed to give back to you guys.
We'll give it to you when we give the money. Give the money. We have a minute left. And that's it.
Yeah, don't worry. Chet has some of these, too.
Chet's going to be the bane of my existence if that happens. So we're going to skip the next one because it's not real yet.
So we'll do the thing that's not Chet, and this is where you start to get your darker wizards.
And this is my third favorite.
Oh, go figure! Because now we're talking about the School of Necromancy.
So literally, I'm all about the light and shiny and the fun parts of being a wizard, and you're all about like the more I can trick everyone and bring the dead back,
which is necromancy.
Yeah,
because you explore the cosmic forces of life and death
and
undeath, because that's a thing. Your studies transition you to learn manipulating energy so that you can again raise the dead, manipulate the dead.
But it's not just about being a necromancer. Isn't just about raising zombies and stuff.
No.
There's other cool aspects of it too. Like for example, like if you're hurt, you can just be like, "Hey, enemy friend number one, I'm just gonna take some of your life force and give it to myself."
Okay, so not zombies, but vampires.
You understand the fine balance between life and death, and you walk that line every day.
Like Dr. Frankenstein. I don't want to be on that side of the line, but I also want to borrow from it.
See, necromancy is like about 90% of the universal monsters: vampires, Dr. Frankenstein, the Mummy.
Oh yeah, all the classics. Yeah, they're all necromantic like beings. So you literally, even though we said it's not all about that, you literally later get an ability that you make a zombie. You can just make them. Mm-hmm. You just animate the dead for funsies.
It's not all about it, but it's one of the perks.
It's
it's one of the perks.
It's the main class study.
Right. So after necromancy and taking the fun out of living, we get to one that is a lot of people look at it. I mean, it's become very popular recently with Critical Role, but School of Transmutation. Mm-hmm. It's literally the school of going, I turn this into this. It's alchemy.
Yeah.
It's literally, if you watch Full Metal Alchemist, just going, and now this is this. So that's pretty much what you do. You fix things. You mold things into something new. You transform your own essence into something stronger. You give yourself the ability to do superhuman things.
Including things like polymorph. Like, you can just be whatever.
Yep. You pretty much...
Like, boom, I'm a table now.
you higher level, you get the polymorph spell, and you just boop. So you also get, at higher levels, you get a stone that lets you, change how you want to transmute things. You can increase, pretty much using the stone, you use it and you get an ability. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like your mind's eye, except for it's a stone you carry in your pocket. You can also, change things. Like, the classic one is, I change this copper into a silver. And then later it stops being that. It goes back after an hour. But it's a good con. You can literally con people with that. You go, like, I'll do this. If you pay me this, I'll transform this into a silver for you. And then you go, here's your silver back. I'll take the 2 copper. And you get 2 copper out of it, and they only get 1 copper back. So it's a terrible thing to do. You should never do that.
Right. Sure.
You also, I mean, Transmuter gets a lot of abilities later on and their 14th level, so don't discount a Transmuter.
Right. So that's all the schools.
Then there's the last one, which is straight up, not a school.
Yeah.
The school is the school of hard knocks.
I would call this more like the military academy.
Yeah, you go to the military academy. This is where you literally can make a military warrior. It's war magic. You literally get abilities based on the way they put that. There's a really funny quote in this. The war mage's typical response is, "What good is being able to throw a mighty fireball if I die before I can cast it?" So if that doesn't equate what they do, they stay alive and then do big damage, which is a fun one. It's very niche.
Yeah, I mean, because it's phrased specifically as, you know, your point is to be tactical. You're a military.
You're a military thought. You have a big military brain, and you use your magic to pretty much assist with that. So if your party is fond of getting into engagements where you can have a tactical advantage, this is what you would do. You'd pick this one so you'd have the best positioning in the battle. So you can do more spells, like power. You can have Power Surge, which is amazing. But I don't ever pick War Magic because I never find a good reason for someone to have it.
Right.
As a player.
Yeah.
As a DM, oh god, I can make a whole legion of them.
Right.
That's terrifying.
That's definitely where the role-playing aspect comes into
I haven't
play.
done that. Go on, roleplay.
That's where the role-playing aspect, because like half the time is if you're going to do something like that, you need people that are essentially soldiers first and foremost in order to make them even make sense. But a lot of people don't seem to lean towards having be strictly a soldier. There might be an old bounty hunter that was a soldier at one point, but it's so far in the past that it's not even really all that matter. At least in my experience, it seems like most people want to play random people. They don't want to play like, oh, I joined the military when I was 16 and became a wizard through, you know, that. Mm-hmm. They just want to be like, I'm a wizard. I'm just a crazy guy who just learned magic. You're like, you got it, Todd. Whatever you say.
The 3 most reasons for being a soldier in any class is you're a soldier and you become a fighter. Mm-hmm. You are a soldier and you've been kicked out, or you're a soldier and you are either retired or left on your own accord.
Right.
Those are your 3, and war magic is a really weird thing to try and fit into one of those reasonings. Only if you're war magic, generally, like if you're war magic, you love tactical and you love being in war, so you wouldn't leave.
I would almost see something like a warcaster being almost like a part-time member of the party, like, and then maybe the other part of the time they work with like a royal army or something as like their tactician
they're
or
a
like
freelancer.
Like their,
so a good way to put this into a game is your campaign is based on war and based on helping a country or civilization. You can have one of your party members be a warcaster that was sent to the party because the party is assisting them in the war.
Right.
So they're the duality of, I'm going to help the party, but I also have an allegiance to my country, so then they can have a nice role play. But that's just me.
It's almost kind of like you think of like Suicide Squad. They always have like a military liaison.
Yeah.
So it could be the same basic thing. It's like, we're going to give you our wizard warcaster to watch over this group to make sure you guys don't do anything too bad.
And then bing, bam, boom, your player can have a warcaster.
Right.
So that's all the different schools. So now that we talked about it, we kind of touched based on spellcasting, and now that we've gone through the schools, we need to get into the more complicated part of spellcasting with wizards. The learning of spells past the level ups. Mm-hmm. Because spells are something you get when you level up as a wizard, but also you're thirsty for those spells. Mm-hmm. You want them. And you can actually buy books and learn spells outside of leveling up, which is great for a player as a DM. If someone's a wizard in your class, in your party, you have to then prep places and things to potentially have. You can prep them already just in case, but let's say you haven't been. If someone's a wizard in your party, you got to start prepping for fairness to their player. You got to start prepping spells and scrolls and things that they could take and learn. Because if you don't prep that for your wizard, you are literally chunking off a part of a wizard's like versatility and point. So you can, if you want to make it like that, but it's personally, I see that as kind of like backhanding your wizard and being like, you only learn what the game says you learn, not whatever is fun.
Right,
so,
like if you make it so every library, every school doesn't have anything about magic, you know, unless that's the whole point of the story is that you live in a world where magic is banned.
For example, like Chet is, if Cal ever dies, Chet will come into being, and he, you know, is obviously going to be brought in at that higher level. Well, at some point he's had to have a history of learning spells. So, you know, you had to assume at some point, oh, hey, he read this book, or some point he read this book. So wizards get, like, the prepared spells, and at certain levels, I believe that you can know more prepared spells outside of just what's in your spell book. But I think with that sort of background history, you kind of have to include that into your prepared spells list.
Yeah, like, so the way you copy a spell into the book, when you find a wizard spell, it has to be a wizard spell. You can't learn, like, Leon, you can't learn a cleric spell from this. It has to be a wizard spell that wizards can learn through the natural leveling up pick. You add it to your spell book. If it's a spell of level, you can prepare, and you have the spare time to decipher and copy it. So you can't, like, oh, I found a level 9 wish spell book, which doesn't exist. It does not exist. You can make it exist, but it does not exist. You can't level 1 prep that. You can't just have that spell somehow in your arsenal. You have to involve reproducing the basic spell, deciphering its unique wizard like notations until you fully understand it, which takes time and money. So for each level, I'm going to read this verbatim, so it's clear and we don't have to worry about it. For each level of the spell, the process takes 2 hours and costs 50 gold. So, level 1 spell is 2 hours and 50 gold. Baseline. Mm-hmm. Unless it's one of the spells that you are savant with. Unless it's a school like D10tion. So then it would take 1 hour and 25. Mm-hmm. That's why that's important. The cost represents material components as you expend your experiment to master it, as well as the fine inks you need to record it. You can't just be like, I dipped this into mud and write this. You need good paper and good ink. Mm-hmm. It costs that's literally fine ink and paper is how you make your book.
Yes.
Once you have spent the time and money, you can prepare the spell just like any other. Wizards have the ability to spend time in the morning, open up their spell book, and memorize different spells for the day. They can prep spells. But only ones they know. That's the difference between clerics and paladins and druids. You can't just prep any spell. It's one you have to know.
Right.
So you can lose a book, and if you lose your book, you have to make a backup. And if you don't make a backup, you only have the spells that you know that day for it. But you can easily do it from memory. It's like copying a new spell, but faster and easier. It's 1 hour and 10 gold for each level of the spell copied. So let's say you're level 18, you have a bunch of spells. It's going to take you a lot of time. It's probably going to take you a week and a bunch of gold to effectively remake your spell book. And your book's appearance can be however you want to make it look. You can make it look plain, you can make it look fancy, but that's why it's important to understand that you learn spells and it takes time.
Yeah.
So if you want your wizard to just learn a bunch of spells, your party better be able to support that weird book habit. It's like going into Barnes & Noble and be like, I'll take all of it. And then your party's going to be like, well, we're going to have to pay for this. And your wizard goes, wait.
Wait, we have to pay for it?
So
spellcasting is like I said earlier, wizards are so different than every other spellcaster. And I mean, just a little bit you said, it goes to show how complicated they are. As far as just adding spells, and I mean, the role-playing aspect of DM can steal your whole book, and all of a sudden you got to rethink your entire character.
Yeah, that's a classic thing. I have done it only once, and that was to teach a player not to abuse the spell book.
Sometimes you gotta do.
You gotta teach them. They gotta teach them the hard knocks. So now that we've done that, we can go through the table real quick, and then we'll go through continuing building our Len. I was missing Chet and that. I was like, Leb? No, Len.
So with wizards, you don't get a whole lot outside of your
tradition.
Your tradition. I mean, the tradition is going to have its own features that happen, but like at levels 4, 8, 12, 16, and 19, you get ability score increases. At level 18, you get Spell Mastery.
Which is you can choose a first level spell and a second level spell that are in your spell book. You can cast those at the lowest level without spending a spell slot when to have them when you have them prepared. You have to spend a higher level if you're doing a higher level, but you can exchange these spells out. You can just pew a level 1 and level 2 forever.
You're essentially turning them into a cantrip.
Yep, which is great if you want to do Magic Missile and get guaranteed damage.
Yes. Yep. At level 20, you get signature spells. This is where you gain the mastery over 2 powerful spells and can cast them with little effort. Choosing 2 third-level wizard spells in your spell book as your signature spells. You always have these spells prepared, and they don't count against the number of spells that you have prepared, and you can cast them each at third level without expending a spell slot, essentially turning them into cantrips.
Well, once per day.
Once per day, but that's, again...
Once per short or long rest. You can do a short rest.
It's a limited use of cantrip in that sense.
It's a powerful cantrip. You're literally using a powerful cantrip to just... level 3 fireball. I can just do that whenever I want during a short rest. I'll chill for 4 hours and do another fireball.
You'll get Arcane Tradition features at 6, 10, 14. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot that goes on with bards as you level up. Not bards, wizards.
Your versatility doesn't come from what you get from your class. Your versatility comes from what you do as a player and the spells you pick and how you use them.
Right.
Because you can have, theoretically, if your game goes on long enough, and you have the wherewithal and the money and the ability, you could learn every wizard spell there is.
Mm-hmm. And just prep the ones that you want.
And prep the ones you want. So that's, literally, it's on you at that point.
Right.
If your DM gives you the ability to have 50 prepped spells, or 50 known spells, it's on you at that point to figure out what you want to do and use it.
Right. This is one of those really heavily role-played spellcasters. You don't if you want something just someone I want to learn spells whenever I learn spells and that's it. That's sorcerer or warlock are going to be much easier for that, or bard, as well as a couple of other ones. But if you choose a wizard, you have to be mindful. The only spells you're going to learn are the ones that you actually learn and make your character go out and find. Because they might even not be spells that you actually want right away. Let's say you go to a library and you find a book about a spell that you don't care about, but you're still going to learn that just in case I need it one day to fill up that extra slot that you have available. It's I don't want it to go to waste. It's here's a spell I never use, but I have it there just in case.
Right.
Versus if you're a sorcerer and you level up and you're I'm going to add some more spells. It's I want that one, and that one.
And that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you're stuck with. So... let's go through and make our wizard. Hit us.
So, for the 4th level, I popped those 2 extra ability scores into Wisdom and Intelligence.
Smart.
I've already rolled the stats for them, which I'll go over in a minute. But I went on ahead and I popped those in Wisdom and Intelligence because to max those out, why not?
It's better to be like that because then we can, actually survive.
I did go ahead and pick some spells, prepared some. The 4 cantrips that I've chosen are all going to be damage-inducing cantrips because the other spells are not.
There's no damage. There's no divination cantrip. I don't believe.
Yeah, there's not. So I picked Firebolt, Poison Spray, Ray of Frost, Thunderclap, just things to do things, and then just about every other spell that I picked are mostly outside of combat, with the exception of 1 or 2. Things like Comprehend Languages, Detect Magic, Identify, Detect Thoughts, Locate Object, Mind Spike, Clairvoyance, Tongues. I also picked Counterspell because...
that's smart.
You should pick Counterspell. You should
always pick Counterspell.
Counterspell, we'll do a side like Brandon's spell book. You should pick Counterspell because it literally lets you at higher levels go, oh, you're casting a 7th level spell, I'm going to cast a 7th level spell slot to go, no, you're not going to kill my friend. So you can pretty much just... deny someone the ability to play D&D.
Right.
So, I picked those 4 ones that do damage because, hey, then I can just use them in combat, and then everything else can be oh, hey, we need to, we don't know what language this is. Well, I'm here to save the day.
Let me just comprehend this real quick.
Yeah.
Right.
So then for the ability scores, we rolled 10, 13, 15, 16, 17, and 11, which you bet we put those higher ones in Wisdom and Intelligence.
Right. Intelligence should be your first highest score, and they usually recommend Con or Dex as your second.
Should we put that other one in Dex the second? We're kind of like the literal glass cannon right now.
You want me to pop that? Because right now, I've got 19 in intelligence, 18 in wisdom, 15 in con, 14 in dex, 10 in strength, and 11 in charisma.
I'd rather our wisdom be lower so we could survive.
Okay, so let's see. You want me to change out the 17 that I have in wisdom for the 13 in dex?
The con.
Or the 15 in con?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to just change that ability score?
Just flip
Okay.
those. They're close enough where it won't really matter, but it still gives us the slightest edge to stay alive.
All right.
All right. So next would be
Moving on, your background. Yay! Guess what? He's a scholar.
yeah.
Wow.
Makes sense.
You can be almost any background and be a
Yeah,
wizard
you
and
really
but
can.
scholar is like you want to maximize your wizard. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. You get 2 additional proficiencies as well as 2 additional languages. So I'm gonna say, let's go perception and nature.
Okay, and so what are other languages?
I don't know. It's a fun one.
Let's do Orcish.
Orcish. All right.
Just imagine a little like gnome just oh gosh.
Well, okay then. And then let's go. What do you want? Pick a language. Just go.
Let's do the whole off. Let's do Elvish.
Let's do Elvis.
All right.
So this little gnome that knows Gnomish in common can also speak Orcish and Elf. So this is literally a very well-spoken, well-rounded. I mean, this is a well-rounded gnome. He can speak to the general pop because the biggest races are gnomes for his community, and the top other 3 are Elf, Orc, and Common. So he can pretty much go into any settlement and it speaks a majority of those and just go, I know, I can talk to everyone.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and roll the personality traits? Start with the D8.
3.
I'm used to helping out those that aren't as smart as I am and would patiently explain anything and everything to others.
Sounds about right for a scholar. Fun fact!
Go ahead and roll another one.
6.
6. I speak slowly when talking to idiots, which is almost everyone compared to me.
So literally you'll spend time helping your not smart friends understand magic.
Whereas everyone's still just mostly in shock that he is naked.
Well, we'll get to that.
And then a D6.
6.
Self-improvement. The goal of life is to study the betterment of anyone.
As a wizard.
Yep, that makes sense.
Bonds.
3.
I work to preserve a library, university, scriptorium, or monastery.
That works.
It's in a tree somewhere.
3.
Unlocking an ancient mystery is worth the price of a civilization.
Ooh.
Literally, it'll help your library.
Right.
I have the only book left from the ancient civilization that cost their lives.
So now the starting equipment for a wizard is kind of limited. You can have a quarterstaff or a dagger.
Quarterstaff.
And you can get a component pouch or an arcane focus. Which I
Okay,
prefer.
so
arcane
we need to talk
focuses.
about component pouch. Component pouch does not mean you have every component. Some people, when they start, like, I want a component pouch because that means I can do everything. It has basic, non-expendable components. So if you have to use a spell that uses a butterfly, you need a butterfly wing to activate it. It has it in there. That's it. It has like things like that. That's the easiest way to put it. It doesn't have like, let's say a spell consumes 10 ounces of onyx dust.
Right.
It does not have that. It does not have that in the pouch. You have to have it yourself.
Yeah.
It's non-expendable, easily find components. And you can so pretty much it lets you do that. But an arcane focus allows you to not need those components.
Yeah.
An arcane focus allows you to pretty much be like, I don't need that butterfly wing. It's such a simple thing. My focus can do it.
Right. This is where you run into like wands and wizard staffs and the such.
It lets you compensate for if you want to have components, that's fine. If you want to carry around a pouch, that's fine. If you want the arcane focus, that's fine.
They both serve the same
They
purpose.
can do the exact same thing. They can't. Neither one allows you to go past the other in versatility.
Right.
Yeah. I personally like arcane focuses because I think that they get a little bit more flair.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a divination wizard, he's going to have an orb.
Just gonna store it in his beard.
Yeah,
Just
it just stays there in his beard, just tucked away.
That's dope.
And then you get a scholars pack or an explorers pack. He's going to get a scholars pack. Gets a spell book, and then we also get the scholar starting equipment. So we get scholars robes, a writing kit, a borrowed book on a subject, and then a pouch containing 10 gold.
which is good in gold. It starts out.
Right. I mean, so as far as like the outfit, when I joked earlier, but I think the idea of having it so that, because since he's a gnome, he's going to be short. We're going to give him a long wizard beard.
Super long.
And that's it.
He literally has a beard that he is tied around, and he's now wreathed in his hair. His hair is long.
He looks kind of like Cousin It, but with a face and arms that stick out.
And it's well kept. It's well managed. It's well braided and pulled into.
He spends most of the day just brushing it.
He has no need for clothes. Magic is his clothes.
I'm gonna give him clothes.
He can have clothes, but when he's not going to wear them.
He doesn't wear them. He prefers to be free.
He has them because he knows decorum is a thing, and he knows if he has to go speak to a count or countess of the land to put on clothes.
But for the most part, he's like a toddler who just refuses to wear the clothes.
No.
Yeah. So basically, after that, we've got our wizard, who is
a
very
wizard.
Glass. His AC is 12.
Does he have the spell shield?
Nope.
Does he have the spell mage armor?
Nope.
Okay, he's taking those.
All right.
I know you picked. You already picked them, but for longevity's sake, he's gonna pick those.
Nah.
Because mage armor gives you an AC of 13, base. So his AC with mage armor would already be better. And then shield gives you a +5 to AC for one turn. So pick that. If you want a wizard that you feel like your wizard's not gonna be in the front, you're wrong. But you don't have to pick those. But most of the time, a wizard's going to be pulled back from the group so they can cast their spells and not hit people. But enemies that can teleport or fly or are really good at moving are going to go, "You're alone over there, aren't you, bud?" And your wizard's going to go, "No, I got my book. I'm never alone." And then they go, "All right," and then they come over and just, your wizard's down. So. That is Len.
So like I said, wizards are a very different beast to just about anything, let alone against other spellcasters. So wizards are going to be one of those things, if you want to do a spellcaster that has a lot of role-playing aspects to it, not to say that the other ones aren't, but this one is really defined by the role-playing you do, because as a spellcaster, you only learn what you have your character go, and that's going to rely on you and working with your DM, like in-game, not even like outside. The only DM, can I have some more spells? He's going to be like, I don't know. Can you?
Can you go out and find?
Do you have 50 gold in an hour of time?
To learn the level 1?
Do you have time to go to a library?
Do you have 9 hours? No, it would be 18 hours, and what would that be? It would be like 450 gold to learn that level 9 spell you want to learn? No? Okay, sorry. You're not going to learn it.
What a shame.
So so wizards, a more complicated magic user is what you kind of boil it down to if you look at it from a very objective standpoint. Again, they learn magic versus getting magic, and it's definitely one if you're looking to do more of the role-playing aspect, and that's kind of wizards rolled into one.
They're one of my favorite classes because you can either be the kooky wizard that we've apparently made,
I know magic,
or you can be the stalwart wizard that's very regal and poised and is very learned, or you can be the very tactician, or you can be
the dark gritty one who just learns the stuff that I need to know.
Or you can be a more fantastical wizard, or you can be one that's more about like with divination. You have it be more like, I see the future, and be more of a fortune teller. There's literally endless possibilities with how you want to make your wizard you. Mm-hmm. There's no wrong way to roleplay a wizard for fun.
Yeah.
Unless you're purposely trying to fight your party. That's the only. That's with every class, though. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So wizards. I think we've hit just about everything. Again, a lot of it is just a brief introduction to, especially to the schools, because there's a lot of them. Definitely look more into them if you have an idea of what you want to do as a wizard. Look more into them and really kind of focus what you.
And if you have any questions about a specific school, you can always feel free to DM the DM, and we can help answer some questions. Maybe if you're curious about building a wizard, but maybe aren't really sure what spells to pick or how to go about it, you can always shoot us a message.
Intelligence. It's always intelligence first and foremost for wizards.
If your intelligence is lower than anything else, you're
a
doing
bad
it wrong.
wizard. You're a bad wizard.
Or are you doing it fun?
Oh no.
We'll have that debate a different time.
But until then, D10tion dismissed.